Howdy YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Gunman. So today we've got this Honda ZRV in the spray booth. We've got two blends and a brand new door shell going on, so I thought I'd just take you guys through the paintwork on this one. So starting off by getting some wet on wet primer down on the brand new door. On the inside of the door, I don't even sand them anymore, and to be honest, the only reason I even sand the outside is just so that you start with a nice smooth sort of orange peel free finish, just so that your new paint goes over a smooth panel, so that you're not getting any sort of texture coming through. You may have even noticed that around the door handle I did not even sand it at all, because you do not need to with most of the wet on wet primers anyway. Before you go and do that, just be sure you would want to double check that the product that you're using that does apply to. Another thing I just wanted to quickly mention is that we're going to be using the new PPG OneVisit Modifier, right? So it's an additive that you add into the Envirobase, so that's why I thought I would show you guys that I'm going that next step with my prep work, right? So I thought I'd give you guys a quick look at these 1000 grip pads that I use. So 33541 is the 3M product code. They're really handy. You can sand your edges with them. They actually last a really long time too. So if you also moving to say the OneVisit Modifier, and same would apply with the Stando Blue. One thing that I found with the Stando Blue, on the darker colors, when you put this base coat blender down, which is this sort of blue stuff, right? If you put that over your coarser sanding scratches on a darker color, the whiteness would sort of stick in the sanding scratches. You'd then get the car outside and you can see that the little bit of white blue tinge. Either way, I just thought I'd quickly mention that, because it can be pretty important. All this effort you can go to making the best paint job you can, and all it takes sometimes is one or two little things. It actually took me a while to figure out what was going on when I was getting that issue. I didn't quite realize that it would have been too coarse of a sanding scratch for that base coat blender. But either way, I've got my base coat blender down here, and getting the color down. As you can see, I did the blend first. So what I like to do is lower that pressure down when I'm doing the blend on these colors. So you can sort of get the base coat floating a little bit too far if you're not careful. Now this is comparable to the Stando Blue, but not identical to Stando Blue, right? So the stuff smells very similar, pretty much smells exactly the same, but it doesn't behave 100% the same as the Stando Blue. After using this OneVisit for probably a month or so now, I've had enough experience to say it's definitely not as good as Stando Blue. Like, it doesn't cover as well. Now, if you guys hang around to the end of this video, you wait until we get this door back on out in the sun. Now, it's actually a strange thing, because to the naked eye, I did not even notice this until I actually reviewed the footage. It's weird. Like, I took a little video with my phone. I thought, hey, I'll show the guys out in the sun, because what I was actually trying to show was the blend. So I could actually see a little bit of mottle in the blend here in the spray booth, right? But then when I got it outside, I'm like, oh, that's perfect. But I didn't notice the color difference to the naked eye, even outside in the sun. But when I reviewed the footage when I got home, I'm like, wow, that door's a little bit darker. So I'm wondering if I could have used a slightly lighter shade on the primer. But even in saying that, going back to say, it's a OneVisit product. I'm always going to compare it to Stando Blue, right? I'm very well experienced with Stando Blue. If this was Stando Blue, you can actually get the shade a fair bit out, right? You can get your primer shade a fair bit out. But it may be one of those things that, say, in future, a job like this may have to look at getting that wet on wet primer on the adjacent panels, right? Because then that's going to make it so that when you go and put your color over, it's going over exactly the same color. But I don't like doing that, because there's a few issues that can happen. Your wet on wet primer can float a little bit further than you want, and also you can get like sort of profiling. Now, you can sort of minimize that by putting thinners down, but then at that point it gets to the point, it's like, are you even saving any time by doing the OneVisit, or should I just go back to doing a 3-coat system? Because with a 3-coat system, it actually dries a lot faster, right? So there is all these things to consider. Time will tell how I use this OneVisit. Now, I would say, like anything, it is a tool. It's not the be all and end all. I can't say at this point that I think I will be using the OneVisit on everything, but I would say that that is actually a positive thing about this PPG OneVisit, is that you can just add it to your color, or you don't have to. You can just go your standard 3 coat. There may be many people who are like, hey, it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it. Another thing is it doesn't quite go on like the Stando blue. Like this would be, it's sort of hard to say, it would have a different look to it, right? And that's why I'm trying to wet it up again. As you notice here, I'm giving it that double drop coat, right? And I guess because of that, that should give me more confidence that it's not a coverage issue, right? So that door sort of had, I guess, 2.5, right? 2.5 coats. That really should cover over that dark shaded primer. It's a dark sort of a color. You wouldn't want to use a light shade primer, of course, on this color. My experience in the trade would tell me that that should be enough with a OneVisit system. And look, it may just be a different issue. It may not actually be a coverage issue that gave us that minor color difference when we did take it outside. At the end of the day, this is one of our loan cars from my boss, so it's not, we didn't have to redo it. If it had been a paying customer, we may have had to, whack that door on and just flick it again, maybe. But again, like I say, it was one of those things that I couldn't see it with the naked eye. So I'm gonna, next year when I go back to work, I'm gonna have a look at it again with a bit more of a critical eye and see what I can make of it. But moving on to the clear coat, what I'm actually using at the moment is a clear which previously was my favorite PPG clear, but now I'm sort of moving away from it. The only reason I'm using it in this video is just to use it up. So we had like 2 cans or 1.5 cans of it just sitting there when the new clears came in. So the new clears are the 131 and the 177. 2 clears which I rate highly. One of them is a air dry clear, and the other one is a bakeable clear. 131 is probably the better quality, so I do find myself using that. But on the small jobs, sometimes I'll use the 177, speed the process up a little bit, which is always good in a smash shop environment. But yeah, like I say, the 105 clear, I'm not really the biggest fan of it. It never really goes down like full glassy. Like I've pushed it to its limits and beyond, right? That's what you got to do as a spray painter. You got to, you know, to find the limit, you've got to push that limit and you've got to go beyond it, right? And then you got to sort of step back a bit. But even looking at this footage here, as I'm reviewing this video, I can see some mottle in it, right? It's a really difficult one to, you know, fully eliminate. But I also think that there is something about these spray booth lights. They are LEDs and they're ultra high powered. I think it shows you more than you'll ever see even in the natural light. So like I say, hang around to the end, have a look at this out in the natural sunlight. I mean, I personally couldn't see any mottling. But like I say, going forward, if it does become an issue on these coarser metallics, which this kind of is, I may just end up having to go back to just the standard 3-coat system, unfortunately, and maybe maybe pick your battles, pick the kind of colors that you're doing, or let's just say a finer silver, you know, which don't usually go as mottly. They're not prone to go as mottly, or even your solid colors or whatever. It might just say, hey, that's where you use a OneVisit. You make that time saving, or even resprays, right? So I do a lot of those Soul Red Crystal 46B Mazdas. I can definitely see myself continuing. Well, I mean, I've done them with the OneVisit and it works totally fine. The whole car has been wet on wet primed, so even if there was a very minor color difference, you wouldn't see it because it's going to be uniformly across the entire car. But the spray gun that I'm using is the DV1C1 1.2. So yeah, I know a lot of people will say, oh man, you definitely don't need all these spray guns. I never needed all these spray guns back when I was painting. And look, I totally agree. I don't. I could get through my day with one. And if I was to choose one, it would definitely still be the Pro Light. A few people sort of give me a hard time. They're like, oh man, you've changed. And I'm like, yeah, wow. You know, what are you going to do? Geez, I've changed. How dare I change? You know, we all have to move on and, you know, adapt to the world that we're living in and change. Yeah, like it's a good thing, isn't it? But I guess the point I was going to make is, whilst I could use one gun, there are certain attributes about certain guns which make them more suited or better suited to spray certain products, right? So this gun here is the C1 1.2. It's a little bit more restrictive, but as you see, it's still got a nice large fan on it. So the 1.2 is going to slow it down. The C1 means it's got less air passing through it, so it's going to get that slightly finer atomization. It's pretty much ideal for the 105 clear. But in saying that, because I haven't been using the 105 much lately, this gun and this setup hasn't been getting a great deal of use, right? So if you're using this kind of clear, totally perfect, but there are other kinds of clears that would be better suited to, say, the C2 and the 1.3. So the 131 and the 177, definitely more suited to the C2 1.3. Where you want to use that little bit more material, put the nice 2 wet coats on rather than the 2 sort of skinny coats like this clear. Just a quick run through the settings, I guess. Still running at 2 bar, maybe a little bit above 2 bar on the first coat. Full fluid and full fan on those DV ones. So yeah, pretty simple settings. I found Envirobase have always been good for, simple settings. And you may have also noticed that I use the StarterJet RP 1.30 for base coat, so a very nice fast delivery. And another thing I would like to quickly mention is that if anybody out there has any tips on using this PPG OneVisit, please give them to me. I'm more than open to any feedback or advice, tips and tricks. But like I say, have a look at those blends. It's really gone quite mottily. But I have even spoken to a few PPG tech reps from Perth and Sweden, and they said, look man, you've pretty much nailed it. Like you're applying it right, like they've seen a few little videos. But have a look at that. The model is pretty much non-existent, you can't see it, but see that front door looks a touch darker. Look, I can just see the blend there, but we know what we're looking for, but the model's pretty much gone, I think. One thing that I think I could do to improve the blend is you can sort of dilute the blend and do like a 3-stage blend. You can go full base coat blender, then 50-50 color with the blender, and then full color. So that's something I might look into doing in the future if I do decide to even continue with the OneVisit on this kind of a job. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you got something out of it. Until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out.